Hello and welcome. My name is Al Barrows, and this is UFO Disclosure, the podcast that's meant to show an average person's reaction to all the UFO, UAP news from everywhere and anywhere. Today, I'd like to relate something that I saw on Catálogo Paranormal. It involves a wave of UFO sightings in Europe during 1954. Newspapers were reporting daily on UFO sightings. Italy, in particular, became one of the epicenters of this UFO wave. In regions such as Tuscany, Lombardy, or Sicily, dozens of people reported encounters with objects of shapes and behaviors that defy all logic. And it was precisely in Sicily, between the towns of Catania and Pelagonia, where one of the most incredible cases of that wave occurred. It was October the 29th, 1954, around 2:25 p.m. The sun was beating down on the fields as 7 workers returned from their day's work, when one of them pointed to the sky. What they saw left them paralyzed. A transparent object with a smooth, shiny surface, as if it were made of cellophane. It was moving slowly at a low height above the road. It was torpedo-shaped, and at its bottom you could see 2 red lights that blinked faintly. The most unsettling thing is that the object made no noise. It was absolutely silent, moving with almost hypnotic precision, as if it were gliding on air itself. But what most shocked these witnesses was what could be distinguished within that translucent structure. According to their statements, a humanoid figure was clearly visible inside, a creature hooded in black that seemed to be staring at them. None of the men dared to move. Some could barely breathe, and others said they felt a kind of vibration in the air, as if the atmosphere itself had become charged with electricity. Suddenly, the ship emitted a deafening buzzing sound, as if the air were being compressed and exploding at the same time. And in a matter of seconds, the object disappeared before their eyes without leaving smoke, without flashes, without any physical evidence. Only days later, the event was recorded in the Italian ufological archives, thanks to the investigation of ufologist Mauricio Vega, and it was archived by the SISU Italia, one of the most serious organizations in compiling cases of this type. However, beyond this, there was not much more follow-up. So the local authorities never really acknowledged that event or made any sort of official statement about it, which, in my opinion, is kind of odd considering the amount of UFO sightings in just Italy alone during that year of 1954. In 1954, Italy was experiencing a real wave of sightings. In Florence, for example, thousands of people observed bright objects in the sky above a soccer stadium and a white substance. The famous Via Silica was even reported to be falling on the roofs and trees of the city. I guess it could have been an unknown atmospheric phenomenon or a collective illusion caused by the panic and fascination of the time. Or perhaps there was something more, something that was really hovering over Europe in those months. So out of all the cases during the 1954 UFO wave, I found this the most interesting because of the transparency of the craft. There are very few UFO sightings where the craft is reported to be so translucent that the passengers are visible inside. I did, however, come across another case also in Catálogo Paranormal. This one involves a shopkeeper from Denmark who has an encounter with a transparent, pyramid-shaped UFO. On November the 21st, 1957, a merchant named Hans left his grocery store in Geston and drove towards Egold, the nearest town, to pick up merchandise. And while driving, he saw a strange apparatus at a distance of between 150 and 200 meters, or 492 feet to 656 feet. It was over a field. At first, Hans thought the object was a tractor with a transparent glass cab. However, when he got closer, he saw that it was a 3-meter high or 9-foot high pyramid shaped flying vehicle that emitted a slight reddish orange glow. He stopped the car and left the engine running, but realized that he couldn't hear any sounds related to what he was observing. The object appeared to be made of a material that reminded Hans of semi-transparent glass. And inside of this apparatus were two human-like beings that remained motionless. This UFO flew at a speed he estimated to be between 60 to 70 kilometers, or between 37 to 43 miles per hour. It went towards a hill near the field where it appeared to land. However, Hans was not 100% sure, as the object could also have been suspended 1 meter or 3 feet above the hill for approximately 1 minute. Then the UFO just flew away towards the swamp near Gaston and disappeared from sight. After work, Hans returned to the observation site and searched the field for physical evidence of the UFO, but he found nothing. So about the same time that Hans had his sighting, two people at a nearby town left a barn on their farm and saw a similar object about 100 meters away, or 328 feet away, floating above the ground. When a local newspaper interviewed the two witnesses about the sighting later that week, they described the UFO as an object that cruised smoothly over the ground. This UFO did not emit any sound except for a slight buzzing sound and gave off an intense light from its underside. Hans contacted the local police about his sighting. So the police forwarded Hans's report to the Danish Air Force Base, and it was never really followed up on, as were none of the cases from the previous 1954 UFO wave. I still thought that it was noteworthy that in each case there were transparent UFOs where the occupants were visible. Hope you guys enjoyed that. My name is Al Barrows. This has been UFO Disclosure. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks.